What's going on, guys? This is Kaisha. Welcome back. So we are back with another video. On this video, we're going to cover the top 5 side deck cards to play in April 2024 OCG format. So we recently had our ban list last March 24 and we now have a new format and a fresh one to start anew, and there's been a lot of changes on the metagame. The Fire Nation has been halted by the ban list, but they still kept on performing on the week 0 or week 1 of our new format, and there's a lot of decks that are gaining traction such as Yubel. So this will be a very pivotal tool for us to identify which cards are good on your sideboard or side deck right now on the early format. So without further ado, let's start. Coming out on the top 5, we have Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. And yeah, moving on towards the description of this card, I think Ghost Ogre is your best buddy against Tenpai. So we all knew how terrifying Tenpai is on the format right now. Easy OTK, disruptive hand traps, and really smooth going second performance from the Tenpai. And I think Snow Rabbit is your best buddy to eradicate the field spell of Tenpai, because that card is very advantageous for the Tenpai. It lets them protect their monsters and has an add effect to procure their place. So I think Snow Rabbit on the field spell is very much effective against the Tenpai right now, and also decent against Runic and Voiceless Voice. So we cannot deny the fact that Runic is a staple deck on the format. Runic has been doing really well in any kinds of format, to be honest. Runic will always be there on the fresh start of the format. Runic will be always relevant because people would look to play comfortable decks to start their format, and I think Runic is just that good. And Voiceless Voice, of course, Voiceless Voice has been targeted as the best deck right now in the format, and I think Snow Rabbit can halt the Voiceless Voice from using this card on their barrier, the continuous spell of Voiceless Voice. And of course Runic, their field spell can be damaged by the Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. And also Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit eradicates bodies and targets at the field, so yeah, it can destroy cards on the field, and that's just the icing on the cake from the effect of this card. And yeah, overall I think this is a pretty solid card on the side deck right now, and most importantly, it answers the Tenpai, and you need to have cards to answer the Tenpai because it is a very problematic matchup when you don't prepare side deck against them. So yeah, moving on towards the decks that can be affected or toppled by the Ghost Ogre, we have Tenpai, of course. Like I have said earlier, their field spell is very prone to Ghost Ogre, and also Runic, their field spell as well, is very prone to the Ghost Ogre, and they only have one field spell, and if they lose that, I think it will be very problematic for them. And of course Voiceless Voice, the best deck right now, arguably the best deck right now on the format. So yeah, moving on towards our top 4, we have Nibiru, the primal being. So moving on, we have Nibiru. So Nibiru stops the combo decks from getting out of control. So most of the time, the combo decks really extends their summon up to 5 or more than in a single turn. So you can have Nibiru to stop them from snowballing out of control. And also Nibiru is a very strong card to cool down the Fire Nation. So quote unquote Fire Nation, we all knew how impactful the Fire attribute based decks right now in the format. Even though they have lost copies of 2 Wanted and 1 Snake Eyes Ash, I think the Fire based decks are still very relevant right now. They are pretty strong on the first week of our new format. There's been a lot of tops of Fire King and Snake Eyes and Rescue Ace right now. So it is safe to say that Fire Nation is not dead, and the Avatar haven't returned yet to exalt the Fire Nation. So we need to have Nibiru on our side deck, because Fire King, Snake Eyes, and Rescue Ace all tends to summon 5 times in a single turn. So I think Nibiru is just really strong against them. And also rogue decks aren't safe from the rock. So there's a lot of rogue decks going on. We have Hero and Sword Soul, and a lot of combo-ish into mid-range type of rogue decks are seeing play right now recently, because the format is really fresh. People are going back to their comfort decks, and I think they will play their most comfortable deck on the format. Especially, they still don't know which decks are going to dominate the new format, and there's been a little time before we get the Infinite Forbidden coming this April. So I think people would resort playing their comfort decks for the meantime. So I think rogue decks are very much affected from the Nibiru, the primal being. And yeah, moving on towards the deck that can be affected by Nibiru, of course, Snake Eyes. It is very notorious to special summon in a single turn, and you're pretty much safe from their negations, except if they play the Barone and the Formula Synchron package on their extra deck. But other than that, they would play the usual Link, Promethean, and Blue Whale package on their extra deck to have that extra recursion of Promethean on the graveyard and extra interruption of it. And also, Rescue Ace tipped as the second best deck right now in the format. Most yearly says that Rescue Ace is the second best deck, just behind Voiceless Voice right now. And I think Nibiru can also do an exceptional job against the Rescue Ace. So yeah, moving on, we have the top 3 on our list. We have HFD or Harpies Feather Duster. So as usual, we have Harpies to respect the back row plays of our opponent. And yeah, HFD is very tremendous against Rescue Ace. The Rescue Ace famous play of set 4 pass from the Turbulence. It is no surprise for us now because Rescue Ace has been a cornerstone of the meta for quite some time already, no? Rescue Ace has been there on the format since May 2023, and they have been okay on the previous formats, and now they are back at the top. So HFD does a pretty nice job to eradicate those contain, extinguish, and even reinforce on their back row. So I think HFD does have a space on our side deck right now just to have answers going second against the Rescue Ace, and also a very flexible card against the metagame. So we now have a very diverse format, except for the Voiceless Voice and Rescue Ace. There's been a lot of anomalies on the format. We have the Centurion, we have the Salaman Great, and there's a lot of decks that plays Kaiser Colosseum and Summon Limit on their side deck, and even Skill Drain. So most decks are capitalizing on Floodgates. So I think HFD does have a very nice interaction against those decks because you can wipe their floodgate setup and also outs problematic floodgates and back rows. So as we all know, there's been a lot of back row plays on the format. Even Voiceless Voice does rely on their back row setup sometimes. So I think HFD can out those problems for you. And I think resolving HFD against Rescue Ace, Voiceless Voice, and I think, yeah, Voiceless Voice really tends to struggle around HFD because you can bait out their Skull Guardian to protect their back row, and it's up to them whether they protect their authority or regions and the continuous spell on their disposal or consume the negate of Skull Guardian. But yeah, I think HFD is a very strong card right now in the format, and back row should be always be respected, especially in our Philippines metagame. There's been a lot of back row decks and stun control decks all over the format. So yeah, I think HFD is a must card to have on the side deck. And next we have the meta decks that can be toppled by Duster. So Rescue Ace, of course, the set for Turbulence pass is very notorious and it can be halted by the HFD. And moving on towards our top 2 best side deck card on our list here, we have Fantastical Dragon Fantasmi. So yeah, we are venturing towards a link-based meta. So Fantasmi is terrific against link-based decks. So Rescue Ace, Snake Eyes, and even the things like Yubel does have a lot of link plays. And yeah, tier 3 decks, we have Ritual Beast and Salaman Great. They also go into link summoning routes. So Fantasmi is very useful on our side deck right now because it covers a lot of ground on the meta right now. And yeah, also it gives you card advantages. You have a draw from the Fantasmi, and you also have extra body on the field that can make things easier for you to link climb into something like Little Knight, or yeah, just have a very high attack monster with 2-4 attack. And yeah, I think you can pretty much capitalize on having Fantasmi on your board most of the time. And also a very generic yet great hand trap on the format, as we have a number of link decks on the format. So like I've said earlier, we do have a lot of link-based decks going on the format, especially the Rescue Ace. It is very notorious for link climbing, going into SP Little Knight to protect their Turbulence. And also the Snake Eyes, they would often go into Promethean and the Blue Whale. So Fantasmi is a very fantastic card on the side deck just to have countermeasures around those top tier decks and Fire Nation on the format right now. So yeah, moving on towards the decks that can be tackled by Fantasmi. So we have Snake Eyes, Rescue Ace, and Fire King. So this is quite controversial, no? Because Fire King have been gutted from the ban list. They have lost one copy of Kirin. They also have lost one copy of Ash, and they also have lost two copies of Wanted. But for me, I think Fire King is still one of the kings on the meta right now. They're still a very competitive deck, and I think I would vouch for their effectiveness because they have been getting a lot of tops. Even though they have lost some really key pieces on their deck, they're still performing quite well even those setbacks. So yeah, I think you should be prepared as well against Fire King. And moving on, we have the best tip side deck card on the format right now. We have Forbidden Droplet. So I cannot stress enough how important this card is, but we're going to see the reasons why on our next discussion. And yeah, Forbidden Droplet answers the very best decks on the format, the Snake Eyes and the things like Voiceless Voice and the things like Salamangreat and Chimera, and all of those top tier meta decks right now can be affected by the Forbidden Droplet because this is a card that can mitigate the negations on their board, and I think it should be mandated right now on the side deck because if you have space for your Droplet on your side deck, even though the discard costs a lot sometimes it feels really heavy to discard or cost cards using this Droplet, but it is very much needed on my own opinion because I think this card is very strong right now to answer the format, and also a phenomenal card going second against Voiceless Voice. So Voiceless Voice has been tearing it up apart on the format right now. Most tier lists have been indicating that Voiceless Voice is the best deck right now in the format, and to be honest, I wouldn't really disagree with them, even though for me Rescue Ace does have a little bit slighter, better ceiling around Voiceless Voice. I think Voiceless Voice does have a very exceptional job on playing around Maxi. You play around Maxi extremely well using Voiceless Voice, and I think it's one of the bigger reasons why Voiceless Voice is gaining so much success and popularity on the format right now. And I think Droplet is your answer and key against the Voiceless Voice to negate the Skull Guardian, and yeah, just empty out their board and consume their negations using the Forbidden Droplet. And yeah, Droplet is a very handy tool against the rising popularity of Yubel. This is one of the main reasons why Droplet is pretty much played on everyone's side deck right now. The popularity and the rising fame of Yubel. The Yubel have gotten a new support from the VJump magazine that featured their new fusion monster, the Spirit of Yubel Contact Fusion monster. I forgot the name. Yeah, but yeah, I think that card is the new version of DPE on the format right now. The Yubel really works the same manner such as the Turbo DPE on their package, and I think that fusion is very much absurd and a very broken card, and there's a reason why that card is plummeting in price right now. Every week it rises a lot on price, and the market is going crazy just to attain that card right now. And I think Yubel will be more powerful moving forward once we get the Fiend Smith and Fiend supports from the Infinite Forbidden. So I think Yubel would be even more better, and I think it will overtake a lot of decks on the format right now. It will overtake Tenpai and even Rescue Ace and just probably Voiceless Voice as well. So I think you should be really prepared on beating Yubel because facing Yubel is no joke. I assure you, this is a very tough matchup. There's a lot of things going on against Yubel. They have a sturdy board. They can really survive a turn, and they have good recursion. And on top of that, they can be more explosive on some occasions. And I think the Yubel is a very nice deck to play right now, and most people are aiming to play the deck as well. And yeah, I think the splashability of the new Yubel package as well are really a thing right now in the format. So Droplet can be your best friend to defeat the Yubel right now. And yeah, I think that's the main reason why Droplet is really hot right now in the format. And yeah, moving on towards the meta decks that can be toppled by Droplet, we have Voiceless Voice, of course, the Skull Guardian with the 4-1 attack and Omni Negate, and also Snake Eyes. Sometimes they go into routes of Barone, and yeah, they have a lot of things going on just to have alternative negations on their board. And of course, Subel, the reason why Droplet is gaining traction right now. And yeah, things like Pendulum Magician, Supreme King are relying as well on Omni Negates. So you can use Droplet to nullify those board negates on their setup. So yeah, that sums up our top 5 side deck cards to play on this April 2024 early format. And once again, thank you for watching this video. I hope you can leave a like and subscription on my channel, and it will definitely motivate me a lot. So thank you for watching. See you on the next one. Peace.